Hey guys, today I'm going to share with you my top 10 favorite book series of all time. Are you ready? Here we go. So I thought about putting these in order I think I originally had, but it was really hard for me to do that. So I'm just gonna share the 10 of them with you and tell you why I love them. So here we go. Okay, the first series I want to talk about is the Chronicles of Narnia series by C.S. Lewis. I just love those books. And I distinctly remember being in 5th grade and having my 5th grade teacher read The Lion and the Witch and the Wardrobe to us as a class. They're deep and spiritual and I just love them. If you haven't read the whole series, you definitely should check that out. So the next series I'm going to talk about is the Lincoln Rhymes series by Jeffrey Deaver. Probably the most famous book in the series is The Bone Collector, which of course became the movie with Denzel Washington and Angelina Jolie. The book series is fantastic. So Lincoln Rhyme is this like kick-ass criminal investigator who like combs the crime scene and can find evidence in like the smallest fiber. But the kind of twist on this story is that he gets hurt at a crime scene and he is now paralyzed. It's a fantastic series. If you like mysteries, Jeffrey Deaver is just a slave to details and I love that. He does such a great job at that. And it must involve tons of research. And as a reader, I appreciate that. Thank you, Jeffrey Deaver. Okay, the next series I'm going to talk about is, let's talk about it, right? It's called The Mark of the Lion series. It's by Francine Rivers. Now, this series falls into the kind of Christian fiction category. And I just want to say this about it. I'm a Christian, but I'll be honest, I don't read Christian fiction because most of the Christian fiction I've read is not really good. But I had this friend who kept nagging me about this book. You need to read this book, it's really good. You need to read this book. And I was like, no, I don't read Christian fiction. And so finally she wore me down and I read the first book and yeah, these books are fantastic. Okay, it's a weird thing too because there's 3 books in the series, but I only really like the first 2 books because those first 2 are about these characters that I really like. The third book's kind of like about some different characters. It was a very random ending to the series. But it's basically about this slave girl and she gets sold to this family and she works as a servant in their household. They're a well-to-do family and basically the son in the family falls in love with her and there's all this conflict. So Francine Rivers is just a really good writer. The story is fantastic and I feel like she did a great job with, you know, kind of writing this fiction story and adding, you know, kind of spiritual lessons in it, but not like pounding you over the head with it. That's my problem with a lot of Christian fiction, is it's like beating you to death with the fact that it's Christian fiction. Mark of the Lion series, the first 2 books only, really. The third book is, I don't really love it, so there you go. Okay, the next series I love is the Stephanie Plum Bounty Hunter series by Janet Ivanovich. Woo, that was a mouthful. Now, I'm gonna preface this by saying as well that if you saw the movie, because recently there was a movie of the first book, I think Katherine Heigl was in the movie. The movie was kind of crappy, you guys. And I would say don't judge these books by the fact that there was a crappy movie. Go read the books. So Stephanie Plum, the main character, is a Jersey girl. And I'm talking like pre-Jersey Shore Jersey girl. She's the real thing, people. And Stephanie's like has a crappy life. She's divorced. She was working as like a lingerie buyer at a department store. She gets fired. She convinces her cousin to give her a trial as a bounty hunter. And basically the hijinks ensue. I remember being on a plane reading the second book in the series and people were looking at me like I was crazy because I couldn't stop from laughing out loud. They're really, really fun, light, easy reads. There's quite a lot of books in this series. Like I think the 19th book just came out, but every one of them has been good so far, so I would definitely recommend them. Okay, now let's talk about some of my kind of obvious favorites. So for example, I would definitely put the Twilight series on this list. I know a lot of people want to bag on Stephanie Meyers, but Twilight was really my introduction to the YA genre. For the longest time, I resisted reading that book. I had a friend, again, who kept telling me, oh, you need to read this book, and I kept thinking, like, why do I want to read this YA book? Like, I'm not a young adult. Like, I'm a grown person. Why do I want to read a book for teenagers? And then I gave in, of course, finally. And it was really, really good. I liked the books. I'm not afraid or ashamed to admit that. I like them. I like Bella Swan. I like some of the movies. And I like Kristen Stewart. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I will say the one disappointment about this series is that I hated the last book. And I could do a whole video rant about why. But I did not enjoy Breaking Dawn, the book. I did enjoy the movie Breaking Dawn, but not the book. Another series that's really kind of obvious that a lot of people like, of course, is the Hunger Games series. Really enjoyed those books as well. Let me tell you, the first book in that series is golden, man. As a writer, that book to me is like a masterclass on how to pace a book. Because when you pick up that book and you start reading and you realize Katniss is going to the arena, you are hooked and you are like reading as fast as you can so you can get to the arena so you can find out if she survives. And I just devoured that book. But again, I will mention, just as I mentioned about Twilight, I hated the last book in this series. Book 1 was fantastic. I thought book 2 was good. Book 3 was just like, I don't know. But yeah, I didn't love the last book so much, and I hate PETA. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that. Team Gale, all the way, people. Team Gale.